Imagine your favorite club down the street was the place all of your friends were. This was the place where all of the conversations about current events, drama, and big-nosed dogs were happening. The owner of the club built this little treehouse 14 years ago, and you don't see him much anymore, but he still hangs around sometimes. One day, he decides to sell it to the highest bidder. It's only worth like 20 goober bucks, but for some reason, he's paying $2,000 for it. So of course, he accepts the offer and hands it over to this new guy. And then at the last minute, when he's about to sign the deed to the club, he decides, I don't want it anymore. You already agreed to it, and we're gonna sue you if you don't buy it from me, please. He kind of sighs and says, okay, fine. New guy starts making all sorts of weird changes right away. He takes out all of the chairs and replaces them with metal cubes or whatever. He's also really opinionated, making people uncomfortable in the club. The same guy who didn't want it anymore 10 minutes ago is now using it to do whatever he wants, even if people hate it. Like removing the block button. That's dumb. People need the ability to block other people on social media. A mute button isn't good enough. It's so stupid. Anyway, I'll talk more about that in a minute, but it's pretty strange, you know? Eventually, the new owner starts boasting about how everyone's still here. And I mean, of course they are. This has been the club for over a decade. He doesn't really understand the vibe of this place. He doesn't get why people like it. I have very mixed feelings about Twitter's recent rebrand. It's very steadily changing into something that may soon be unrecognizable from the site I've come to know since 2011 or so. The original appeal of Twitter from the very beginning was that you could use a limited amount of characters to blurt out your earnest thoughts about anything at any time. And it only took a few seconds, you know? You could just whip out your phone and say, I'm sad, my Nintendo broke.
Fossil fuels are directly contributing to the Earth's temperature, potentially increasing to dangerously unsafe.
Waffles.
Unlike Facebook, which felt more personalized and face-forward to your friends and family, a website that originated as a sort of Harvard experiment to rate women, places like Twitter and Tumblr were less about the faces and the places you went, and more about the words you say, or your lack of it. It was kind of cute that every new profile was a faceless egg that was ready to tweet at an instant, and it's really representative of a simpler time. Flash forward to the year 2014. The Queen posted her first ever tweet, and more than 500 million other tweets were generated per day. Tweeting is now a verb that was officially added to the Oxford English Dictionary in 2013. It was quickly becoming the water cooler of the internet. Alongside places like Reddit, where you talk about sports and what color this black and blue dress was, it became very well established as the more free-form and less complicated type of blogging your thoughts. All you really needed was an internet connection at your local Starbucks, and potentially thousands of people are going to hear you say it. Tumblr was starting to become pretty popular as well, but I think the main distinction was that it was more so to talk about your niches, like your love and admiration for the Onceler from the Lorax. It was and still is a great place for hyperfixations, and you could really have fun here during its peak, especially when early signs of hostility were already vaguely present in most other places on the internet. Twitter's goal was just thoughts that didn't have to be deep, but at the same time it was a forum of banter and debate, kind of just inevitable. But it's definitely turned into something more combative nowadays. Twitter over time seems to have become a more angry Game of Thrones style arena where every couple of days there's at least one person everyone's talking about in a negative way. There's always without fail a bad guy of the week. And I honestly don't know when that started, but I feel like it wasn't always like that. It used to feel like a kind of neutral place where you didn't have to be on guard 24/7.
This is fine.
But despite my gripes in the past, I feel like it's getting worse now.
But at least now it can't get much worse.
But it did get worse.
At a certain point, personal feelings about the new owner and my changing timeline become inevitably hard to ignore. When I started using Twitter again, I felt like it was getting a little uncomfortable, so I followed 26 cat accounts. Why would it be that I'm following 57 cat accounts and I'm not seeing a single one of them? Sometimes change is good, but sometimes change can also be dumb and pointless and pedantic. So the thing is, in my personal opinion, I'm not really a fan of the X name. The links, when they don't embed, feel like I'm sending my relatives a very inappropriate link. You know, like the tube, hamster, things like that. It makes me very paranoid. Low-key. All of these very sudden changes are fundamentally morphing what Twitter is in such a short period of time, where it's sort of giving most people major whiplash. Most apps and websites might put a new thing out every month or so. For a minute there, he was doing these every other day. He started doing all kinds of weird stuff, like removing the block button, removing Twitter circles, X coins, trying to remake PayPal,
a company he co-founded and got kicked out of, which I think he's still bitter about.
seriously considering putting the entirety of the site behind a paywall to prevent bots, and for a second there he almost wanted to rate limit how many tweets you could see per day. Like, I don't know. He wants to turn Twitter into the everything app, and I kind of see where he's coming from with that, because I think banking could be an interesting way to commission artists on Twitter, taking out the middleman, but I'm also not sure if I trust the guy who fired the majority of his staff in the first week to handle millions of credit cards. There's basically like 7 people left in the building, and the site has gotten so buggy since then. They even have video and audio calling now, competing with Skype and Discord. He's really trying to do everything. I already use stuff like Discord and FaceTime for stuff like this. It just seems unnecessary. But anyway, verification is now a commodity that anyone can purchase and successfully impersonate a celebrity for a solid 48 hours or more before being caught. Blue allows you certain perks and boosted results that free users don't have. X Premium, or whatever it's called now, gives you the ability to pay about $10 a month, get a check mark that used to be something that was difficult to get, something only celebrities got. It also gives you the opportunity to get paid for your tweets. And the algorithm now leans towards people who pay for Twitter, and it seems a little ethically concerning, in my opinion. Especially because anyone who agrees with Elon politically who buys Twitter Blue will almost always be at the top of the replies. But people who don't like Elon also don't buy Twitter Blue, because now anyone who has a checkmark is usually shamed and called a dumbass for it. I personally don't agree with his politics, and in fact I think he's making a lot of my friends uncomfortable. But if you want those special benefits and more engagement, you have to buy this service. It's basically the textbook definition of pay to win. The truest of meritocracy and free speech is an illusion when you can buy your reach. It's literally built into the website's code that whoever has premium will be seen more. It seems kind of shady, and I don't like it. And I know some other sites do this, but I've never had to pay $10 a month for the YouTube Partner Program, you know? A service that now gives you the ability to hide your check mark if you have it. And it makes me think that maybe you effed up if you've cultivated an environment where a once yearned for check mark is now something to be embarrassed and ashamed of. With those same people engagement farming unrelated memes on every single tweet. A lot of those being bots that are constantly DMing me and tagging me in stupid promotional stuff. And Elon's solution to the bot problem, something that no other big social media company has done before, is actually make everyone pay to use it. Like, seriously. And with two-factor authentication already being behind a paywall now, something my entire family uses to get into Facebook, now you want to make college students and parents with full-time jobs and kids spend a monthly fee to look at and post stuff on your site when Instagram and Blue Sky are still gonna be free to look at? It seems kind of silly, man. I don't know. What are we gonna call tweeting now? Xing? The head of Twitter's trust and safety team resigned in June after the owner heavily criticized her. That's not good. Your sense of levity and meme usage when talking about serious issues is also very concerning. I know this seems a little biased, but no matter what your politics are, it's hard to deny that whoever owns Twitter, especially a billionaire with a lot of influence, they're the person who the algorithm is going to be heavily influenced to promote to nearly everyone who uses the site. I don't even follow the guy, and I see him on my timeline constantly. I'm just saying, even if you put that stuff aside, why is he changing so much in such a short period of time? Twitter circles are going to be gone, and a lot of my buddies use that instead of private accounts. Why? This doesn't feel like free speech at its best. It feels toxic. You're quick to ban the parody accounts of you that criticize you, but the ones that love you, they're still around. You're clearly very biased and petty, and you care about your public image. You want X to be the new collective consciousness of humanity, a digital town square, and the everything app. I'm sort of just seeing a guy who's now being a very transparently political, powerful entity that has majority control of his town square. It has its own culture and subcultures within that. It's a machine powered by the people, but at the same time, Twitter also matters a lot in today's landscape. World leaders read each other's tweets by carrier pigeon. I'm not saying he's Lex Luthor, but I'm also not saying he's Iron Man. I don't know why he wanted Twitter, and I don't think anyone knows. I hope his intentions are good. I really do, but a lot of my friends are going to Blue Sky now. I have one too, and my friends aren't posting as much. So, you know, a poll was recently done in the United States that claimed nearly 70% of people still call it Twitter and still refer to posts as tweets. So many of my buddies now have Blue Sky accounts that they frequently promote, because there is now a real competitive response to a certain fatigue brought on by Twitter, or X, I guess. Many people credit Facebook for creating the playbook on social media, but Twitter is the site that made it faster and more accessible. Now, you could call this a good algorithm, an interesting subset of communities, or your daily dose of dopamine, serotonin, whatever, but it works. At Twitter's core, he's trying to fundamentally change a very strong brand identity that Twitter has, something that's now becoming very confusing, and I'm worried that there's even more division now than ever because of the owner's heavy bias and constant tweeting. It's changing into something completely different than it was a few months ago, but every social media does seem to have an expiration date, because one day there's gonna be a new water cooler to talk about the news, memes, and your favorite TV shows. It's most likely gonna be more than one. I read this book front to back many years ago, and I sorta respected the guy. Thought it was pretty cool back then. But seriously, why did he buy Twitter? I'm not sure what you think you're gonna do for society that Twitter itself hasn't already done. Jack Dorsey himself said that he doesn't think this place needs an owner. He's always been a believer that Twitter is its own ecosystem that operates mostly on its own. But now we're being reminded every day who owns this place and how they feel about the world. Seeing everything that's happening with it, I'm not sure why he trusted the richest guy in the world to handle it. It's losing money every day, and I really do think we're gonna need a new place soon. The question is, which one is it gonna be? That was dope. But seriously, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Good vibes.